Hi, my name's Alaina. I'm team lead here for InterVarsity in Ottawa. So I work with the student group here at U Ottawa, and I also supervise staff on both campuses. For fun, I like to sit on the couch, and then I have my book and my journal and some hot chocolate, maybe a TV show I could watch, or a Sudoku puzzle, or the little newspaper that comes in the mail that's about our neighborhood. Anyways, other newspapers too if I bought them, but those are the things I like to do, just sit there and have lots of different activities that's nice and quiet. I grew up in small town Ontario where everyone is white. My elementary school, there's no one who isn't white, and that's just how it is. And so I don't feel like my perceptions of other cultures really got formed in either direction, because you don't think anything bad about them. You learn inherently the value of racism is bad, but no one says to you, well, if you only interact with people of your own culture, then you're not actually extending yourself to other people, because no one knows that other people exist. They don't in a small town where I lived.
Okay, my name's Melody, and I work with InterVarsity at Carleton. So I'm a campus minister. I think you all know what a campus minister does. I'm not going to explain it. For my spare time, what do I like to do? Well, mostly I like listening to music or playing music, hence my name. I like music. I also really like eating, so whether I like to bake on my spare time or go to really nice restaurants with Dan and eat really good food. So I grew up, I was born in Hong Kong and moved to Canada when I was 3. So I grew up in Toronto, which is pretty diverse and multicultural. I grew up in a Chinese church, so most of my church friends were Chinese, but my school was pretty diverse. So I'd say half were Asian and half were white. And the perception that I grew up with was, this is what my parents taught me, was you work hard, because to get ahead, you have to beat all the other white kids. So you study harder than them, you work harder than them. If you don't, they're gonna just bypass you for good jobs or for awards. So you just try to excel and do the best that you can.
How'd you become friends?
So when I lived in Waterloo, Melody would come and visit us sometimes, and I thought Hamilton was really far away. We had no sense of geography back in those days. So I never went to visit her. That's too bad. But she came to visit us, and so that's how I first met Melody. And then when I moved to Ottawa, well, she was in discernment with Dan, and so Dan and I lived together, and so Melody would call the house and want to talk to, well, I think she wanted to talk to Dan, but then she also didn't want to talk to only Dan, so she would talk to both of us. And so that was great, because moving further apart actually brought us into a closer friendship. She'd come visit us all the time, and we would hang out.
Well, because we wanted to practice good boundaries, so that it wasn't just that I come to see Dan and nobody else.
Yeah.
And I mean, initially, sometimes I felt bad calling your house and then not talking to you, so that's probably where I started, because I just thought I should talk to you. But then I enjoyed talking to you, so then I like talking to you, so then we started talking and hanging out when I came. So mostly our friendship these days involves us going for friend lunches, as Alaina would call it, because we work together, so we're trying to put a distinction between that. We also like playing board games. And she'll come over to my house a lot, and we'll make meals and chat and cook and eat.
I had a question here, and I don't know what it is.
Something about why those things help us.
Oh, yeah.
In our friendship. Oh, yeah. Answer the question now. I think it helps us to have variety of different things we can do together, because sometimes we really do need to talk, and that helps us, and sometimes there's not that much to talk about, or talking will just spiral us into a work conversation, and so playing a game is a much better option, or eating a meal together.
And really just spending time together outside of a work context is helpful.
Okay. What difficulties have you encountered in your friendship, and how did you overcome those difficulties?
Most of our difficulties, I'd have to say, come from Alaina being my supervisor now. And so we started out as friends and peers, and so we had to really navigate through what that meant, that she was my supervisor. But I think we've been able to work through a lot of it. It has been a lot of communication and talking about how we feel and checking in before and after meetings to make sure that we're both doing okay.
Yeah, and I remember, like, in the season when we found out that I was going to be Mel's supervisor, and I called her and was like, Melody, I'm so afraid that we're going to lose our friendship because of this, and I don't want that to happen. And, like, I think, like, acknowledging that on the front end, and then, like, yeah, the commitment the whole way through. Let's talk about this. Let's see how it's going. Let's go for a walk. Let's have friend lunch. Let's, whatever has helped us get past that.
Let's talk a little bit about your communication. Like, how does that go?
I forget who started this one.
Okay. Mostly the communication in our friendship and working relationship is I like to talk more indirectly, so communicating through body language and less through the direct words that I'm saying, but that people around me can understand what I'm talking around.
Yeah, and I think as a direct communicator, I've had to learn a lot about indirect communication where I was useless at it at the beginning. And then I would start to try and would say some stupid things that no indirect communicator would ever say, and no direct communicator would ever say either. And so there's been both, like, on my part, there's had to be some learning about what is Melody actually trying to say. And also some, like, how could I say this in a way that sounds less harsh or less abrupt? And I'm still not good at that. I feel like in the places that are important, like, that it's really important that we understand each other, I do need Melody to, like, come right out and say it directly, or else I might, like, guess, are you directly trying to say this? But, like, it has to at some point get said directly for me to know, like, I understand what's going on. Mm-hmm. So that's...
and how has this helped your friendship in your perspective?
Yeah, I appreciate when Alaina tries to communicate to me indirectly, even if it's not perfect or I don't fully understand, but the trying and the acknowledgement that she wants to do it in an indirect way helps me receive it well. And then I'll just answer the question or then tell her, oh, if you want to say this indirectly, this is what I would have said instead.
How does your faith influence your friendship?
Oh, yeah. So I think our faith is such a gift our friendship is a gift to my faith. I'll say it that way, actually, where, like, the moments where I feel, like, discouraged about something or something's going on, that I know, like, if I talk to Melody about it, she'll be willing to pray with me about it, or like, help me trust Jesus with it. Also, that she's a person in my life who can help me figure out, like, oh, this thing is sin, or no, actually, you're fine. Like, she knows enough about my own sin patterns and, like, the places I usually get tripped up that she can help me, like, sort that out and then, like, choose to trust Jesus better.
And how many of these sin patterns are culturally driven in your lives? And do you help each other point it out?
Yeah, I think it's a question we still are working through, whether it's cultural, whether it's a personality, whether it is sin. I think it's probably a mix of all of those things, but I have seen in my own life that some of the sin patterns that I struggle with a lot are around drivenness, and that definitely comes from being Chinese and feeling lesser and being taught that I need to, like, excel and be known by doing more things.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to figure out for one another, like, is this cultural or not? Because I can see, like, okay, this, whatever, you said it, like, okay, this drivenness. and I don't necessarily know, like, oh, Mel, this is a cultural sin you have, or, oh, this is just, like, your problem, what's wrong with you? I wouldn't say it like that. I would say it much more kindly to her. But some of the place where I think, like, different culture helps us in figuring out sin is that we each have a different, like, bias or, like, lens of, this is what's normal, and then the other person comes and say, I don't think that following Jesus is like that, or I don't think that I don't think that thing is faithful, and then we have to, like, sort out together, is it sin, is it culture, something else.
Great. How's a cross-cultural friendship different from a monocultural one?
Yeah, so I think the main difference is the thing we're saying about communication. It just takes a bit of extra work. And then I also think there's ways in which my friendships with Asian Canadians, like, there's a richness in something, I can't quite name what it is, but just a little bit different of a gift that's there that I really like and appreciate.
And I think it has taken more work, and sometimes it's more tiring. But for me, being in cross-cultural friendships is what's made me learn more about my own culture, particularly because I grew up just with a lot of Chinese people and didn't know things like going to cottages was normal because I didn't have a friend who had a cottage until I met Alaina. But also just, yeah, things like what you celebrate on holidays, what you eat during holidays, like Jell-O salad. I don't know what that is. It's kind of gross. And I think values even around family and what that means to spend time with your family, like, all the time instead of just going home for Thanksgiving or Easter, but that anytime I'm home, my family gets together and we have big meals and just hang out.